My own horror story is not as bad as some you featured, however, still wanted to tell it to someone. This was nearly 6 years ago, and I can't remember classes. My boyfriend, Marcus, we'll go with Marcus, invited me to play Dungeons & Dragons with his long-standing online group. There are around 8 players in this group, but the problem player in this instance was Archer. We were coming up on a group of cultists, and my character was a female elf rogue. We were trying to work out how to proceed past the cultists when Archer spoke over Discord saying, "We have a girl in the group now. We can just avoid combat."
Fool! No man can kill me.
I am no man.
Sorry, totally my bad. Like, we shouldn't even be fighting. I mean, I guess I'm just gonna bail. You have a nice day. Sorry for killing your dad. That's totally on me, bro. My bad. To say I stumbled hard would be an understatement. Marcus quickly cut across this, and the DM put a stop to it as well. I still play with this group today, and I can say this has never happened again. It's a good group, and I love playing with them. I'm even offering to DM the next campaign. The problem was, on this occasion, they're all just so used to each other, they just assumed I would fall into the same jokes and patterns they all had. Moral of the story, ask new players what they're comfortable with. Absolutely. Even small little jokes, little moments of awkwardness, it can completely kill the vibe. I'm not saying you need to be perfect with every word you say, but just put a couple ounces of thought into the things that you say when you're around other people. That's not a D&D thing. Trust me, that'll help you in life too. I'll try to keep this short. I've been DMing for a group for roughly 2 years now, and due to the style of DMing that I have, which involves a lot of foreshadowing, clues, etc., they have just now met the big, bad, evil guy. The thing is, when I was creating this particular fellow, I want to try something different from my usual. This particular villain has one wish, and one wish only. He wishes to die. Due to some circumstances, he is cursed with immortality. Yeah, we've seen this story before, but I've never actually run such a story. I've always viewed immortality as the worst curse one can have upon oneself. To see everyone you've ever connected to crumble and disappear, to witness funeral after funeral, to never truly allow yourself to feel love or to be loved, for it to be ephemeral. In the end, only you would stand, living, if that's what you would call life. Christ, crawling in my skin, am I right, fellow?
Yes, I extract the writing power of the cards of trauma. I imbue my writing with the tome of sorrow. With that, my tragic, traumatic, depressing villain backstory is complete.
You know you don't need to do, like, any of that. Yeah, but this is like, come on, this is more fun. Good point. No, but seriously, this Dungeon Master has this step down. If you want to make a sympathetic villain, you need to start with the motivation, and this is a solid one. After that, though, you need to do good characterization. No matter the motivation, unlikable characters will always be unlikable. But why is he the villain, you ask? His life is painful. His existence is suffering. He wishes for it to end and will do anything in his power to do so. He has tried many ways, but none have worked. Now, he's going to try the ultimate way. He will bring down the realm. He's going to destroy everything. For when all is gone, he hopes he will be as well. God, wow, okay. I thought it'd be an interesting narrative and story to have a less power-hungry villain character, so we've been building it up for these past 2 years. Now they have finally faced him and learned of his ultimate goal, his reasoning, his plan. This happened last session. We ended on a cliffhanger when they learned about it. The problem arose when we ended the session, which I thought was absolutely amazing. One of my players became absolutely pissed. He started to angrily shout with words that I will really not write down, as I'm sure they would not fit the sub. Bro! Have you seen the stuff on the sub? Are you kidding me? He claimed that I was ruining Dungeons and Dragons for him, that villains should be villains, that he didn't play to feel sympathy for his enemies. He claimed I was an absolute a-hole for trying to make them feel pity for someone they should defeat, and things really escalated even though I tried to de-escalate the situation. My other players tried to reason with him, saying that it was a good story and all that, but he was having none of it. Truth be told, I've never seen someone that angry before, which honestly did make me slightly taken aback. He left my house, where we host our game, almost storming out. I apologized to the other players who remained there and told them that was not my intention. They seemed to have enjoyed the story and were not really bothered by it, but the situation is sour, to say the least. Now, here I am, considering that I should stick with the run-of-the-mill cartoon villain, which honestly isn't what I like, but I don't want to go through something like this again. Well, that's my story. I'm sure it's not as horrifying as some out here, but, well, it really did a number on my self-confidence as a dungeon master. Cheers, folks. TLDR, a player got furious because the big bad evil guy had a very sympathetic story and stormed out after cursing me, which led to the mood of the table souring. Now, I want to make this clear. I love a good big bad evil guy that's absolutely irredeemable. I'm making one right now, in fact. Sometimes it's cool to just have someone that's evil, period. Like, that makes for a good villain. I hate the advice of, oh, villains need to be sympathetic in order to be good. I just think villains need to be interesting. Sympathetic is one way to achieve that goal, but there are many other ways. However, the idea that sympathetic villains are bad, or that it could ruin a story for you, is just, like, sure, there's stories like Sylvanas Windrunner from World of Warcraft, where the sympathetic angle just really doesn't land, but here, I'm not in your game, but it seems from the outside that you're doing a good job making this immortal a sympathetic character. You did well, but this person clearly doesn't like the story, which is fine, that's his opinion, but opinions cannot be expressed in temper tantrums. Tantrums make for bad critique. Tantrums don't fix. All they do is validate your own anger, typically misplaced anger, and here, yeah, I think it's misplaced. Look, don't listen to this guy. If your other players like it, that's all that matters. Hey y'all, first post here, and hopefully my last. No offense. I've got a Call of Cthulhu themed one for ya. So around 6 months ago, I joined Roll20 to look for games since I live in nowhere middle of USA. I originally joined to find a Vampire the Masquerade game, but like, nobody played VTM on Roll20, or at least free games, so I instead started looking for a Call of Cthulhu game, as I had recently gotten into this topic through the Chaosium's Bookshops of Arkham live actual play series, which is fantastic. I highly recommend. I'll link it in the cards if I remember. I probably won't. Anyway, there are a couple of games I showed interest in, but only one actually got back to me. This is where I met the Lore Keeper, Call of Cthulhu's name for a Dungeon Master, and the central character of this post, Stan, name changed, obviously. Stan was a character. He had apparently been lore keeping for the past 27 years, and he had a weird sense of humor. The strange thing about him, though, was that he had a wife and child. Damn. Bro thought he had no bitch. I still, to this day, do not know how. He also streamed all his Call of Cthulhu games on YouTube. They're probably still out there. He ran a weekly game on Thursday nights that fit into my schedule perfectly, and I was excited but nervous to join. It was my first time playing a tabletop role-playing game with strangers, and I wasn't sure how I'd measure up, so to speak. Stan assured me, though, his games were designed to be challenging, but he was welcoming to new players interested in Call of Cthulhu. Our characters awoke in the lobby of a hotel with no knowledge of how we got there. The premise was of an ever-expanding hotel where you would order anything from room service. The payment, however, was your life in years, and we racked up a substantial debt. Think the Lowe's Casino from Percy Jackson. Oh. All that's making me think of is how disappointing the Lowe's Casino was in the Percy Jackson show. Seriously, never been more let down in my... Well, okay, not true, but it was a substantial letdown, to say the least. Now, the first red flag came at the second session of the campaign. Our characters, both male, were going to bed one night, and we were being offered the hotel's standard accommodations. Food, alcohol, cards to play with, the standard lot. Then, he offered some womanly company. Yeah, he was offering our characters sex workers. I declined, deciding it wasn't really in character, but Mark accepted, expecting just a fade to black. Stan then goes into detail about the girls' about the girls' strip routine and begins to describe them approaching Mark's character on the bed before we stop him. I thought it was weird, but I brushed it off and told myself, it's fine. This game is more adult than your average D&D game, and besides, Stan stopped when we voiced our uncomfortableness, so he must be a good guy, right? Right?
Alright, hand over all your money.
Okay. I'll do whatever you say.
Good. Slowly. Don't be stupid.
Okay, please stop.
Oh, what?
Please stop?
Oh, yeah, okay, alright. Yeah, no, we're cool. Yeah.
What?
You asked me to stop, so I'll stop. Okay, great, awesome. Great, awesome. Now that we have this behind us, I'm sure that we can form a lasting relationship. I know you just completely attacked me and violated my trust, but you know what? When I asked you to stop, you stopped, so we can just totally just move on entirely. Be best of friends, in fact. Yeah. Yeah.
A couple months passed without real incident. Our characters died escaping the hotel. Mark's actually died falling down the stairs. He ended up leaving after this. Not sure if it was because because of this, though, and we started a new mini-campaign instead. We picked up a couple players along the way, including one I'll call Charlie, another I'll call Aaron. This campaign was a bit more unoriginal. The town goes crazy and everyone starts killing each other, but whatever, we could have fun with this. No, instead Stan launches into a detailed explanation of how my character receives a traumatic flashback from the time her dad beat her and... oh my god, dude. Repeatedly, of course. Reminder, this is not part of my character, her character, at all. He just decided that it was a serious breach of player agency and also just kind of messed up. I was decently uncomfortable now, but I didn't say anything again because I thought that was just normal for CoC. So anyway, we finished the campaign. Something about the cat goddess Bass making people go crazy. We defeat her by blowing up with a wheelbarrow full of dynamite. A week passes, and Stan immediately launches into the next campaign. Little did I know, this campaign would be the last. Our characters were approached by a guy named Tom to go on an expedition to Argentina to look for rare artifacts at dig sites. The only way to get there was by boat, however, because I guess planes weren't invented in the 1930s? Actually, I think the more important question to ask is... timeline's close enough. I still think it makes sense that you take the boat. Anyway, the very first thing Stan mentions is how excited the sailors are to finally be around women again. Specifically, how horny they were. Okay, fine. Whatever. This kind of thing was normal for Stan at this point and never seemed to reflect his attitude towards the... It's reflective of something. Don't know what it is specifically, but it's something, okay? We get to Argentina and decide to explore the city of Buenos Aires. Sorry. And the very first thing that happens is we see some random women get stabbed to death and take sanity damage. Why? Who knows? We didn't roll poorly or anything. It just happens. I'm still not sure why it happened. I was planning on talking to Stan after the game at this point, but he exited the call before I could, and I just forgot about it by the next day. I missed it next week, but apparently you got a new person before she dropped out an hour into it. She said she found a better game that fit her schedule, but Stan was apparently talking about how some people can't handle my games. Bro, I wonder why.
Yeah, I'm really excited to play. Yeah, girl, really excited for you to join our group. Looking forward to this. It's gonna be great. Awesome. So anyway, as we start the campaign, you've been grabbed by 5 large men, and they are drugging you, and they are immediately going to... Why does this keep happening?
The final session happened after that. It's almost like he took her leaving as a challenge to see how far his game could go. So in this campaign, Eldritch BS happens, and our characters are transported to a world not our own. Our only lead is Tom, the guy who leads us on the expedition, who's now the mayor of Arkham, Massachusetts, a big place in the CoC mythos. We track down his office and ring up the receptionist to make an appointment. She tells us we'll have to wait, so we decide to do a bit of snooping while we wait. Charlie, who was absent at the time, and my character distrust the receptionist, while Aaron's character snoops around. Dude finds a pair of double doors. He passes a roll to sneak inside, and Stan then says this. You see a child, his legs draped over the desk, and in the back of the... That's straight tentacle porn, bro. You can imagine what our thoughts were. We want nothing of this sort to happen, so we burst through the door. Me and Charlie were just there suddenly. Again, this person is just not the best dungeon master in general. And the child is fine. He was sitting on the lap of the mayor and smiling. Something was still off, though, and I didn't like the implication of all of this, but it got worse. The child passed my character, and Stan asks me for a spot hidden roll. Hard success, I say. The child is walking funny. I was going to have some choice words with him. We finished up the mini campaign, and before I can say anything, he launches into the next one. There was an hour before the session was set to end, and I guess he thought he could just start a new one. This one has approached to take an expedition to a foreign country to look for something. Already, I'm pretty pissed at him, but I rolled up a new character. I basically just made Laura Croft from Tomb Raider in the 20s. We were traveling by boat again, and he starts the same horny sailor stick again, but this time directed at my character. I'm not having any of it. So my character tells the sailors she'll cut their balls off if they look at her wrong. Violent, but I thought this would send a message to the sailors. But also to Stan, I'm not enjoying this. He has one of the sailors come up to my character and tell her, you know this trip is going to be dangerous. You might die. Why not have a little fun before you die, huh? I have my character turn to Aaron's and ask him for protection from these guys, and he agrees. With that, the session ends, and I'm just pretty pissed. I play tabletop role-playing games to get away, to get away from real life crap. I don't want to have to deal with harassment and in my games. How could a man with a wife and child think either of these things is okay? It's important to note, at no point did Stan ever ask us if we're okay with this, or even signify this would happen. Not in the rules, not in the Roll20 post, and certainly not in person. It was clear he was doing the harassment bit as a joke. Of course, none of that made this okay. It made it almost worse, in fact, because it showed that he clearly didn't treat these things with the care and respect needed to portray them. It's just like a game to him. Yep, totally normal game thing.
Hey man, I heard your Dungeons & Dragons campaign fell through. What happened?
It was terrible. It was terrible, man.
It's okay, man. Just tell me what's up. Was it a problem player? Did something go wrong?
No, it was me. It was me. They blamed me. It wasn't that bad. All I did was...
A few moments later.
You called the FBI on me? Bro, did you hear the things you were saying to me? It wasn't that bad! It really was!
We had a lengthy talk with Stan after the session. His response to our uncomfortableness was, "That's just the way I've always run it," which does not make it okay by any stretch of the matter. We informed Charlie of the incident, decided to draft up our complaints with him, and see what he has to say for himself. If he responded with an apology and a promise to grow, we'd stay. Nah. Anything else, we were out there. He responded by saying the same thing as before, that was always the way I've ran, so we left. Me, Charlie, Aaron, and John have since started our own game nights together where I run Vampire the Masquerade and Charlie runs CoC. So we've been staying away from Stan for about a month now, and I think we're better for it. Charlie's honestly a better dungeon master than Stan ever was, and I'm getting more confident in my own DMing skills. Stan's Roll20 game has disappeared, and he hasn't streamed since then, so I guess he gave up on looking for new people to play with. Or maybe he never started. Who knows? Who cares? So, yeah. When it comes to in-person games, it can be kind of awkward to just leave, but especially when content gets to this level, you should leave. That's really the only thing you can do. When your character expressed discomfort with the situation, Stan has an excuse. He can internalize it as, oh, OP is just playing a character. They don't actually have a problem with this. You obviously do, by the way. You are portraying it through your character. But again, using that character veil, Stan has an excuse to ignore you. And giving people like this any excuse means you're giving them way too much leeway. There was never a reality where this game ends well for anyone. Stan is a bad DM, clearly just from a technical standpoint, they're not doing a great job with being a lore keeper for Call of Cthulhu. But worse than that, they clearly don't care about how you feel about their games. They want to have their fun with their sense of humor, and that's all that matters to them. If you enjoy it, cool. If you don't, who cares? It's almost like spite, and that's not a good way to run your game. This story is about a player, let's call him Steve, who decided to get mad at me, the Dungeon Master, when he went AFK during an incredibly important moment in the story, and didn't tell anyone. Short and minor horror story, but basically we're playing Curse of Strahd via Roll20 online, and the party meets Rictavio. The party earns the trust of Rictavio, who is revealed to be actually an older gnome by the name of Rudolph Van Richten. Van Richten's a gnome? Okay, he's human in canon. Obviously, if you change his race, it's not a big deal, but like, yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not going insane. Anyway, yeah, he reveals himself to be apparently a gnome, disguising as a half-elf when he takes off his hat disguise, bending the rules a bit for the hat disguise, obviously. During this interaction, I could hear at least 2 out of 4 players commenting or responding back to this revelation. Steve was not one of those players. Steve did not put anything into the chat or say anything in voice chat that he was walking away, so for all intents and purposes, I thought he was there hearing everything that was being said. Later, the party find out that a lady has been asking around for an older-looking gnome. Steve then starts asking questions like, DM, have we seen any gnomes? Does the person we're talking to know what a gnome is? And just other strange questions since he's supposed to know he just met a gnome NPC not too long ago. I answer the best way I can without directly saying, yeah, obviously this lady is looking for the one gnome you met this whole game, but it gets to a point where I have to stop the party for a second to recap.
You guys remember what happened to Rictavio, right? Right? This isn't 5th grade, dude. You don't have to... Oh, sorry. It's okay. He turned into a gnome, right? Yeah, he was a gnome. What the hell, DM? How does the person we're talking to even know what a gnome is? How has she not even seen any of that description if we were literally talking to someone with that very specific description? Steve! What happened was Rictavio took his hat off. He turned into a gnome. Well, if he's a gnome, how does this lady... Steve! I told you he was wearing the hat of disguise. He was disguised as a half-elf. I showed you a picture of his half-elven form with the hat, and then he took it off and became a gnome.
Oh, I think I walked away while you were doing all that and didn't say anything.
What? It's not my fault! It literally is!
Either that, or I guess he lied, forgetting an incredibly important detail that I revealed earlier. I don't know. Very frustrating behavior from him, amongst other things. We're talking about this at the top of next session, since I just don't know how to let these things continue, if I can let these things continue. If I'm reading hundreds of pages of lore and spending dozens of hours each week prepping our sessions, Steve can at least put like a BRB in the chat. I will say that my party also sometimes will just leave without explanation, but also, to be fair, I haven't ever complained about that, so it might partially be on me. I should probably say something, because it is annoying having to go over information that you've already gone over just because somebody couldn't be bothered to say, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. In my games, it's not too big of a deal, since they usually go to the bathroom in between their turns and, like, combat, for example, so they can pretty easily surmise what they missed, but it can be frustrating going over lore things that other players that is, already understand just for one person who wasn't paying attention or who wasn't there. I think a degree of patience is mandatory though, especially as a dungeon master, though here, the fact that Steve got actively upset, that's the red flag. That's the big problem. Not necessarily that he didn't hear the information, but that he got mad at you for it. Because, honestly, come on, man. It's not the DM's fault. It's Steve's. Me, 24. My sister, 30. We've been role-playing for years, decades even. We have multiple worlds with their own separate stories and lore, and the tales just keep going and going. Sometimes characters from one world will interject into another, spicing things up a little. I've asked her if we can try this in D&D someday, but she's pretty bad with numbers, so we stick to good old role-playing. One of the characters she came up with, named Suno, was a mainstay for a long, long time. He was mainly played by my sister, and she loved interjecting him into stories. Thing is, the way he'd stay in those stories was weird. He had a lot of romantic interactions, though most of them fell through because he was very direct with his romantic gestures, and for some reason my sister's idea of romantic is they like each other, then they kiss. After that, then they get married. And that was the good way it would go. The other way was Suno manipulating his target into having sex over and over again, and if they said no, he'd go ahead. There are two wolves inside of your sister. Wolf 1.
Marry me.
Wolf 2.
Me. In the or
Honestly, I don't know if I like either wolf. When I was a kid, I thought it was funny because they did the bed dance. But as I got older and figured out I was ace, I realized just how disturbing this really was. I wasn't ready for how far my sis was willing to go. And we'll get there when we get... Oh god, it gets worse! Anywho, Suno eventually ended up getting married. He had kids, grandkids, and so forth. It's really hard to kill someone when you have no combat system anyway. His wife, Maya, also played by my sister, actually helped to keep him on track. She pointed out when he did something messed up, and she usually encouraged good habits. I wanted to have one of my characters get married too, but I didn't have any that I thought would be in a good relationship with our current cast. So I made up a character named Peter, set up his backstory by saying that he had something bad happen to him as a child, and started setting up who his boyfriend would be. Thing is, once my sister found out he was gay, her homophobic side started to show.
I quickly became homophobic. Hating on gay people became part of my lifestyle.
She'd have different characters pull Peter aside and ask why he didn't want a girlfriend, saying things like, what if you want kids? And God would be angry at you. But the persistent dude that I am, I kept him as he was and started playing out his romantic plotline. And that's when my sister did something that really made my skin crawl. Heck, it still does. I don't remember how, and I don't know why, but she decided that Peter's childhood trauma was because... Whoa! Whoa! What the fuck?
Yeah. Jesus.
I hated this a lot, but I didn't want to break the roleplay just yet, even though I really should have. I had different characters come after Suno saying, what the heck, man, and nearly got him arrested, but then my sis had Maya pop up, and I thought, yes, finally, the voice of reason that comes in and smacks some sense in this creep character. But then she says, you shouldn't be mad at him. It's not his fault that he's like this, and you should be all ashamed of yourselves for treating him like this. I was shocked. She continued the roleplay bit with her own characters, but I just went quiet. Was that really what she thought? Did she think that those people were in the right? After a minute, she asked if I was all right, and I just left. I went to my room and just took a second to breathe. This was my only outlet for role-playing, and it finally left me in just a what the heck state. I mean, it had before, but this was just ugh. After a while, my sister came in tears, begging for me to come back. I told her I was probably going to stop role-playing with her, and she just cried some more, saying that she didn't want our worlds to come to an end. Feeling guilty, I told her we could go again on a couple of conditions. 1, we get rid of Suno, and 2, we never are going to have another storyline like that ever again. She agreed, and we ended up continuing. As time went on, her plot lines became a lot less problematic, and she became less homophobic. But only less. She still has her moments. We've kind of stopped role-playing over the years, and I haven't found any group that continue this little hobby with just yet. I'm kind of scared to look, I won't lie. Roleplay can bring out the worst in people, and if someone's worst is defending bleh, or something even worse than that, I don't think I can handle it. Yeah, this is not great behavior from your sister. I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to her ever again, but it is something that you should probably at least think about, because I don't think this behavior is normal or okay. You're not kids. As I was midway through the story, I forgot that you said your age at the beginning, and I'm sorry to say, man, but someone in their 30s thinking this kind of thing is a sign that I'm not going to be speaking to that person much. And by the way, I totally believe this is something that could happen, because it's something that did happen to me. I was confronted over the way that I was talking to somebody who, in my opinion, was acting extremely creepy towards me and towards others. You would be shocked what people are willing to defend. I don't know you, I don't know your sister, but I do think this is a massive red flag, because even though this was a silly little roleplay game, it is still something she said, and it's definitely something you should consider. Hey, that's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our Q and Play series, where we answer your questions in a rambling and scripted format while playing some video games. We just got a new episode. It's linked in the cards. And while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment a concerning sister to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell. You can make the lights a different color. I keep on forgetting to do that. Let's go with